Welcome everyone, my name is WirthyPickle and this is your channel for all things Starfield. This channel is coming full circle as the first Starfield video I ever put out was breaking down all the character backgrounds and traits that we knew of the time from the original showcase. And now with the game finally being released, we have every single character background and every single trait that the game has to offer. So we're going to be breaking down each of those and I'll be giving my recommendations on what backgrounds and traits I think are best. Of course, I'll also be covering the character creation process, whether you just want to pick a preset or customize everything about your character. If you're trying to optimize your playthrough, or if you're just kind of looking to roleplay, we're going to break it all down here. So let's go ahead and get started. Really quick though, if you do enjoy the video, be sure to hit subscribe and leave a like on the video. It helps me out a ton as a small channel. If you want more information on how to optimize your start with Starfield, also be sure to stick around because I'll be releasing a video here pretty soon about everything you can do to have the best start to the game possible. With all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the character creation process. You'll be starting the game working in a mine as a newly hired miner. You quickly come across a strange area that has a piece of metal lodged into a stone. After touching this piece of metal, you have a strange vision and then wake up on a medical bed. It is here where you are asked who you are and you get to create your character from scratch. You'll also see that you can choose one of 40 presets or profiles. These profiles don't affect your skills, backgrounds, traits, or anything like that, but simply work as a helpful start to what your character is going to look like. I'll have each of these 40 options shown to you here, so you can get a good idea of the range of characters you can create, and you'll hopefully get a good idea of what profile you'll be choosing when you start your own playthrough. After you choose your base profile, you'll be taken to this menu here, where you'll be able to customize your character's body style. The main feature here is the size wheel in the top left. You have three main options or body styles: muscular, thin, and heavy. Moving your mouse or joystick around will guide this little dot here to the perfect balance of body shape for you. As you can see, for my personal character, I chose a muscular but thin approach. But after choosing the body style that works for you, you can then pick whether you'd like a male or female body type, choose your walking style out of two options, and change your overall skin tone. The next tab is all about sculpting your character's face. You have sliders for many different options. For the sake of time, I won't actually go through each and all of these options, but you can change your skin tone, your head shape, hairstyle and color, facial hairstyle and color, eyes, eye color, teeth, jaw, chin, neck, nose, ears, cheeks, mouth, jewelry, and derma aesthetics. Whew, that's a mouthful. But let's jump over to the meat of character creation, your background and traits. As I mentioned earlier, I'll be making a best start video here pretty soon where I'll go a little more thorough in explaining why I believe some of the backgrounds and traits are the best. But at least for this video, I'll go through each one, explain how they work, and generally what you should look for when picking out your character background and traits. Now, I do want to preface all this with I may be given some suggestions on what I've found to be kind of the more useful backgrounds or traits, but the most important thing is that you choose what you want to do and how you want to play this game. This is a role-playing game. It's meant to be sculpted around what you like to do and what type of character you want to build. So take everything I say with a grain of salt and honestly just build the character you want to build, and that's going to be the most enjoyable experience for you. Now, the way backgrounds work in Starfield is you're given a number of different options on what you used to be before this whole mining incident happened that I talked about a little bit earlier. This gives you a little bit of a background of who you used to be, so it increases your role-playing capabilities. These backgrounds will also every once in a while pop up while you're playing Starfield, give you some unique dialogue options and even some unique quest lines depending on what background you choose. Each background also gives you 3 starting skills. These come directly from the skill tree, so it essentially just kickstarts your skill tree progression. So you want to pick the background that's going to give you the skills that you are looking to invest in right off the bat. Starting with the backgrounds, let's begin at the top. Beast Hunter. Beast Hunter, from the Ashta of Aquila to the terramorphs that plague the whole of the settled systems, hostile alien life abounds. You've learned the skills to track them down, find them, and take them down. You get Fitness, which essentially increases your stamina in the game, Ballistics, which is going to increase the damage of your ballistic weapons, and Gastronomy. With Gastronomy, you can craft specialty food and drinks and research additional recipes at research labs. Next, we have Bouncer. You've worked the line at the toughest clubs in the settled systems. Back then, you learned the most non-lethal confrontations can be solved one of two ways: a strong right hook or a more strongly secured door. So this one, the 3 skills you get are Boxing. Boxing increases your unarmed melee damage. Security is essentially your lock-picking skill, so it allows you to hack certain levels of security terminals. And then we have Fitness, which we already talked about. That essentially increases your stamina. Next, we have Bounty Hunter. Wherever there are wanted individuals, there are those who profit from their capture. And you know that in the vastness of space, they can run, but they can't hide. The first skill you get with this one is Piloting. This one just gives you a couple different capabilities with Flight. And then you have the Targeting Control System skill. And this one allows you to focus on a certain part of the enemy ship and target that. So if you want to take down engines or a certain weapon, you can target that just like the VAT system in Fallout 4 and destroy that one component. And then you have Boost Pack Training. This allows you to use your Boost Pack or your Jetpack right out the gate. You don't have to wait and invest in that skill before you're able to use a Jetpack. Next, we see Chef. While the unrefined masses scarf down chunks by the shipload, you catered to those with more discerning palate. In your kitchen, countless alien species became true culinary masterpieces. This one, your first skill is Gastronomy. We came across that one already, where essentially you can craft different food items. Then we have Dueling, which is increased melee damage. Then we have Scavenging. This one right out the gate allows you to find more credits when you're scavenging certain areas, but as you progress it further, you'll also find more loot and more rare loot. Next, we have Combat Medic. Leave it to human beings to fight over something as infinite as outer space. That's where you come in. You've never been afraid to take on the enemy, but you'd much rather take care of your friends. With this one, you get Pistol Certification, which increases the damage of pistols. Then we have Medicine. This one increases the effectiveness of med packs, trauma packs, and emergency kits. And then we have Wellness, which increases your max health by 10%. Then we see Cyber Runner, which is a fan favorite. From Neon to New Atlantis, the Megacorps stand as monuments to power, prestige, and profit. You've worked both for and against them, on the inside and out, often sacrificing conscience for credits. This one, you get the Stealth skill, which will give you a stealth meter when you're crouching or sneaking. It's also going to make it harder for them to detect you when you are sneaking. Security, we mentioned this before, will allow you to hack into more containers and terminals. And then we have Theft. This one allows you to pickpocket right out the gate. Next, we have Cyberneticist. Robots? Mere toys. Neuroamps? Good for parlor tricks. The Colony War may have made implants and upgrades available to veterans, but you once saw a greater future. Humans and machines as one. The 3 skills you've gotten with this one, we've seen 2 of them already. Medicine increases the effectiveness of med packs and a few other buffs related to kits. And then we have Security, which allows you to hack into different storage bins. And then we have Lasers. This one increases the effectiveness of laser weapons. Next, we have Diplomat. The wars are over. Peace now reigns the settled systems, but only because there are those who quietly fight to keep it. Because of you, agreements were signed, words were heeded, and lives were spared. The 3 skills you get with this one are Persuasion, which this increases your odds of persuading someone to do something when a certain dialogue option is presented to you. Then we have Commerce. This one allows you to buy for less and sell for more. Lastly, we have Wellness, which we've talked about this one before as well, but it increases your total max health. Next, we see Explorer. They said exploration is a lost art. You didn't listen. As the major factions argue over the space they desperately tried to control, you were busy uncovering the wonders of the settled systems. This one, you get the laser skill that we already talked about. We also have Astrodynamics, which is pretty cool. This one increases your grav jump range, so essentially you can travel to further galaxies or little solar systems. And lastly, you have Surveying. This one's kind of nice. You get an optional zoom option when you have your hand scanner out, which is kind of nice. And then you also have increased range in which you can scan different items. We've also got Gangster. You were always disgusted by suckers killing themselves to make an honest wage. As soon as you were old enough to hold a weapon, you took what you wanted from anyone unlucky enough to have it. These 3 skills are Shotgun Certification, that increases the damage of your shotguns. We've got Boxing, which is unarmed damage. And lastly, we have Theft. This allows you to pickpocket people right out the gate as well. Homesteader, the discovery of the settled system's many oxygen-rich plants and moons meant humans can live just about anywhere. If they had known how. You did, and utilized it to great effect. The 3 skills you get are geology. This one allows you to find more common and uncommon inorganic resources from surface objects. Then you have surveying, which gives you the zoom in capability on your hand scanner and increases the range of your scanner. Then you have weightlifting, which increases your total carry weight. Next, we have industrialist. There was a time when all you wanted to be was a titan of industry, maybe a ship designer or megacorp executive. Thankfully, that skill set never goes out of style in the settled systems. You get 3 skills with this one as well, the first one being persuasion, which allows you to persuade or convince people to do what you want in dialogue options. We have security, which we mentioned before, just gets you access to additional storage units or rooms. Lastly, we have research methods. This one reduces the amount of items you need to craft or complete research projects. We've got long hauler. Let those other hothead pilots obsess over laser weapons and maneuverability. You're a space trucker, pure and simple. Pack the cargo, get in there fast, get paid, repeat. Life is simple and good. With this, you get weightlifting for carrying capacity, piloting for, well, increasing your piloting skill, and then ballistic weapon systems, which increases the damage of your ballistic weapons, but on your spaceship. Moving on, we got pilgrim, wayfarer, wanderer, seeker, transient. You've been called many things during your travels and learned something those others could never understand. The journey is the destination. The 3 skills we get with this one are scavenging, surveying, and gastronomy. We've talked about each of those a couple times before, so we're just going to move on from that. So with that, we got professor. You always enjoyed learning, but nothing could compare to the joy of teaching others. As humankind spreads throughout the stars, there was never a lack of knowledge to obtain, and you gladly assisted. The 3 skills you get with this one are astrodynamics for grav jump range, geology for discovering minerals, and then we have research methods for making it cheaper for crafting and researching. We've got Ronin, masterless, and unbound. You wandered the settled system as a blade for hire. To some, you were simply a mercenary. To others, a hero, and to a select few, a nightmare they could never awake from. The 3 skills you get with this one are dueling for increased melee damage, we have stealth for sneaking, and scavenging for collecting more material while you're out and about. Next, we have sculptor. With your knowledge of anatomy and skilled, steady hands, you could have made a lucrative career as a surgeon. Instead, you followed your heart and created works of art to amaze and inspire. The 3 skills you get with this are medicine, geology, and persuasion, all of which we've talked about multiple times, so again, we're going to move on. Next up, we got soldier. The settled systems is no stranger to warfare, and if there's one thing armed conflict relies on, it's trained warriors with guns and guts. You had both. Simple, bloody work, and you were great at it. With this, you get fitness for increased endurance, ballistics for ballistic weapons, and boost pack training to use your boost pack right at the start of the game. Nearing the end here, we have Space Scoundrel. Good, bad, whose right is it to say? If there's anything you've learned while traveling through the galaxy, it's this. Space may look black, but it's really one big shade of gray. The 3 skills you get with this are pistol certification for pistol damage, piloting, and persuasion. Next, we have Xenobiologist. The settled systems is home to untold alien species, and while none of them have yet proven sentient, that never deterred you, so you sought out and studied them for whatever gifts they've offered. You get 3 skills again, lasers, surveying, and fitness. Now, the last background option that they give us is quite a bit different than all the other ones, and I really like that they added this in the game. This one is for those of you that didn't really like any of the other background options, or maybe you don't want any type of background option. This one is called File Not Found. Oddly, there is no information on file about your past life. Clerical oversight? Deletion by some powerful unknown faction? Or was there just nothing of note to mention? Whatever the reason, your past is known only to you. What's important is the here and now and the path you're about to forge. This one also comes with 3 starting skills. You get wellness, which again increases your max health. And then you also have ballistics, which increases the damage of ballistic weapons that you use. Lastly, you get piloting, which allows you to use thrusters on your ship right out the gate. And then of course, later on, once you upgrade that skill, it allows you to fly bigger ships. Whew, you finally made it through all of the backgrounds. So let me know in the comments what background you went with or what background you plan to go with. But with all the backgrounds taken care of, let's talk about the traits. Traits are a little bit different than backgrounds or skills. When creating your character, you get to choose up to 3 traits. And when I say up to, I mean you don't have to choose any at all, but 3 is going to be the max. Each of the available traits will give your character a unique buff, but they will also come with some type of negative effect, so keep that in mind. One other important thing here is that these traits have different ways of removing them from your character if you don't like the negative effects. So while you can remove the traits you don't like, you won't be able to add additional traits later on. So for that reason, I typically suggest filling all 3 trait slots from the start, but of course that decision is going to be up to you. So let's start with the first one, alien DNA. You volunteered for a controversial experiment that combines alien and human DNA. As a result, you start with increased health and oxygen, but healing and food items aren't as effective. Then we have Dream Home. You own a luxurious customizable house on a peaceful planet. Unfortunately, it comes with a $125,000 credit mortgage with Gal Bank that has to be paid weekly. Empath, you're deeply connected to the feelings of others. Performing actions your companions like will result in a temporary increase in combat effectiveness, but performing actions they don't like will have the precise opposite effect. Extrovert, you're a people person. Exerting yourself uses less oxygen when adventuring with human companions, but more when adventuring alone. Next, we have Freestar Collective Settler. You gain access to special Freestar Collective dialogue options and better rewards from some missions given by the faction, but crime bounty towards other factions is greatly increased. It is important to keep in mind this one cannot be combined with other faction alliance traits. Hero Worshipped, you've earned the attention of an annoying, adoring fan who will show up randomly and jabber at you incessantly. On the plus side, he'll join your ship's crew and give you gifts. One note on this one, his stats really aren't that great, so on your ship crew, he's not that effective, and the gifts he gives you are very infrequent. Just a little note there, but he is kind of fun. Introvert is obviously the opposite of extrovert. You really need your time alone. Exerting yourself uses less oxygen when adventuring alone, but more when adventuring with other companions. Of course, this one can't be combined with extrovert or the other way around. Kid Stuff is a really unique one. Your parents are alive and well, and you can visit them at their home, but you will automatically send 2% of your credits home to them every single week. Again, this one's kind of unique. It'll actually give you some additional dialogue options, and of course, they'll be there for you to speak with. They'll give you gifts. That's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. Similar to the Freestar Collective Settler, Neon Street Rat. You grew up on the mean streets of Neon. You gain access to special dialogue options and better rewards from some missions on Neon, but crime bounty on other factions is greatly increased. Again, you can't combine this with the other faction options. Next, we have Raised Enlightened. You grew up as a member of the Enlightened, which is a religious faction in the game. You gain access to a special chest full of items in the House of the Enlightened in New Atlantis, but lose access to the Sanctum Universum chest. And to repeat the obvious, you can't combine this with any other religion trait. Raised Universal, as just mentioned, is the complete opposite of Raised Enlightened, so you'll get a chest with Universal instead of Enlightened. The last religion trait is Serpent's Embrace. You grew up worshipping the Great Serpent. Grav jumping provides a temporary boost to health and oxygen, but health and oxygen are lowered if you don't continue jumping regularly, just like an addiction. Obviously, this can't be combined with the other two that I just mentioned. Spaced, your body has become acclimated to space. Health and oxygen are increased when in space, but decreased on the surface. This can't be combined with Terra Firma, which is the complete opposite. Essentially, you get a boost while on planets, but then get nerfed while you're out in space. Next, we have Taskmaster. Occasionally, if you have crew trained in a certain ship system, that system will automatically repair itself to full health whenever it is damaged below 50%. However, all crew cost twice as much to hire. Next, we have United Colony Native. You gain access to special United Colony dialogue options and better rewards from some missions given by the faction. However, crime bounty by other factions is greatly increased. We've already come across one like this before. It's essentially the same thing, but for a different city. Next, we have Wanted. Someone put a price on your head and word has spread. Occasionally, armed mercenaries will show up and try to kill you, but being cornered gives you an edge. When your health is low, you do extra damage. And that's all the backgrounds and traits in Starfield as of the launch of the game. Now, I mentioned I'd share some of my thoughts on what I think are some of the best backgrounds and traits. I haven't used every option, and of course your personal opinion is going to mean much more than mine, but here are some of my thoughts on the backgrounds. First of all, with backgrounds, you need to determine if role-playing is more important than the skills you get to start out with. If that's the case, just pick the background that suits you best. But if you want to optimize your starting skills and don't really care about what the title of your background is, here's what I recommend. Bounty Hunter is great for piloting, Cyber Runner for thieves, Diplomat for those who want to use dialogue to win over conversations, Industrialist for a balanced start to crafting, Long Hauler for hoarders, Soldier for, well, soldiers, and File Not Found for those who just kind of want a blank slate when it comes to role-playing. While you really can't go wrong with any of the backgrounds, and of course, your starting skills aren't going to affect your later game, but I found that these that I just mentioned typically have the best combinations of starting skills that you'll use right out the gate. Now, as for traits, Dream Home is nice to have from the start if you don't plan to build or buy a house anytime soon. You get a nice sized house on a pretty planet, but man, that mortgage is massive, and you definitely won't be able to pay it off until much later in the game. I found that I didn't even touch the house, but if you will, it wouldn't be a bad pick. I would also recommend choosing either extrovert or introvert depending on your playstyle. I almost always have a companion with me, so it's nice to have a buff just for playing how I normally play. Or if you play solo, why not get a buff for that as well? Again, this is going to be subjective, but for your first playthrough, I also wouldn't suggest completely committing to a religion or city trait, as you'll most likely want to explore every city and religion in the game your first time around. For hero worship, I actually picked him my first playthrough because it was very unique, and it was fun at first, but his skills really aren't that great, and I found that his gifts weren't that great either. But if you want something unique, I'd say go for it. It's got some fun dialogue option and quest options, so give it a try. Kid stuff was also a super fun one for me. It's not a super powerful trait like some of the other ones, but it does create a fun aspect of role-playing in the game, having your parents around, and they do gift you some things that are pretty fun kind of throughout the game. Taskmaster is a really powerful trait when it comes to spaceflight. The double wages does hurt, but you get a decent amount of crew from Constellation, and by the time you set up settlements or need more crew for your ship, money's less of a problem. So I really do like Taskmaster. And for Wanted, I'd say that one's a pretty fun one. Having people randomly stop and fight you is a fun thing to break up the rhythm of the game, and getting some extra ship kills also helps out early in the game. Alright, but for those of you that have watched this far in the video, you are amazing, and it would mean the world to me if you just hit the subscribe button and leave a like on the video. But until next time, stay worthy.